All right, hello everyone, and welcome to yet another installment of Theorycrafting Thursday. I am, of course, your host, Ursinity, and I'm sitting here with my good pal, Proud.
It's a little close, but I mean, yeah, we're friends.
We are a little close, for better or worse. And, of course, we're actually sitting physically in the same room. If you are watching this on stream, we're recording live, or I suppose watching on YouTube, which is exciting. We have the technology. It's a whole new realm, quite literally a whole new dimension for .p. Although we've done this for other shows. But, so, hello Proud, how's your week in Dota been?
It's been okay. A lot of schoolwork, so not quite as much Dota as I'd like, but the little bit of Dota I did get to play were basically all losses, which, that it happens. Sometimes you just get an off-lane invoker for like the third time this week, and he just fucking dies, just like a lot.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I do play, not recently, I used to play a bit more off-lane invoker, and as fun as it may be, and unless like they're really bad, you're gonna have a bad time. It's just a mess.
Yeah, there's other options for the offlane that are a little more reliable.
Yeah, that's for sure. Offlane is a weird position right now, just because like so regularly I just see duo lanes. So now it's even weird when I see like an offlane invoker or like a solo offlane anything. I'm like, well, this should be a duo lane. How are you gonna shut down the enemy carry if it's only one of you? But yeah, I mean, my week in Dota has been similarly sparse because I have also been just doing schoolwork and more schoolwork. But I'm excited to. I mean, my finals week is next week, so after that, I will actually be able to play.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, I know a lot of people they have like another couple weeks at least, but for me, I have one exam and one paper to write, and that's it. So I'm free and clear. Actually, more like as of today, I'm pretty free and clear. But so I'm looking forward to it. I know I need to grind some solo MMR, and now, as at request of many a person, we are reinstating the state of affairs mechanic that we used to use very regularly, but now we are using, again regularly. And so I guess I'll start. And of course, state of affairs where we list our progress or where we are, and I am sitting at my solo MR is 4,235, and my party is at 4,323. I have not been playing much Dota this week, so I can't really talk to that. No, I played a support Kunkka game. I think support Kunkka game was my only game for the week. Yeah, and then I played like a silencer game where I had 2 Battle Furies, but that's something. So yeah, I mean, my Dota is sparse, unfortunately. But I'm looking forward to playing our game tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah, I dropped about 200 in maybe a week. So not the best, but I did win this one Venomancer game, and reminded me that when things are ever tough, just pick Venomancer, sit in the middle of 5 people, press your R, and then die, and then you win the game. Really fun hero.
It's always worrisome when you reflect on your recent games of Dota, your last week, your last couple days, what have you, and you think about like that one win, because that means that there were very few wins to find.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking for a win tonight, though. Tonight we are going to be doing, of course, a classic Theorycrafting Thursday combo, although with a new twist. We're going to be running Tiny and Bounty Hunter, although normally, we do our duo safe lanes or duo off lanes or what have you, but this week we're going to be running a mid Tiny and then a roaming Bounty Hunter, which I'm excited. I mean, I know you play a lot of Tiny, I also play a lot of Tiny, and I play quite a bit of Bounty Hunter. Not as much as I did last patch, for obvious reasons, but I'm definitely looking forward to this combo. I think it's strong.
Yeah, Tiny is the hero that's been getting a lot of attention recently. Normally, you don't see him played without a Wisp. Once or twice you would see him played. Specifically, actually, like around TI3, when I was really interested in just like playing Tiny at all times, I was like, okay, when does Tiny get played without a Wisp? And every single game he had a Bounty Hunter in the team, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. Tiny is a hero that, until you get Ags, you don't farm super well, but your real big advantage is that you have crazy magic burst damage. You can just kill people. So if Bounty Hunter scouts something out, you blink on him, Tiny combo, you get a kill. Makes sense. But now that Tiny's getting played mid, he's not the strongest solo laner, but with a little bit of help, if they feel a little threatened at all times, like if you're against a Shadow Fiend and the Shadow Fiend's afraid of, because Tiny does a shit ton of damage. So if a Bounty Hunter comes up, the Shadow Fiend could die at any second. So if the Shadow Fiend's a little bit afraid, the Bounty Hunter can be threatening enough that the Tiny can play a little bit more aggressively without the Shadow Fiend kind of punishing him super hard.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know Tiny... I mean, you and our friend Skrunk really opened my eyes to the mid Tiny, because before that I had really only thought of him as like a safe laner, or you do the duo lane mid with the IO Tiny, of course. Yeah. That's been a classic since like forever. But mid tiny is something I really enjoy. I think it's a really, I mean, nowadays, like you said, we see it pretty often. Even pro teams running it, and tiny has a lot of strengths right now. But I think mid is a really dynamic way to play him compared to just farming him and getting that like drums ags rush. But when you get that shadow blade or that blink dagger and you just walk around killing everybody, it's a really fun way to play Dota. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it was actually a Slasher's Way video gave me the courage to play Tiny again in
Really,
mid a few patches ago. Yeah, he would go Ring of Protection and skill Craggy first, which is a thing that I still
what?
do sometimes. Yeah, just so you could battle up against anyone mid. You could actually just man up on any hero. If you have Craggy at level 1, just like right clicking them, and if they right click you back, you have 5 armor, and it's crazy good.
It sounds
Um,
like it. I never thought of
yeah,
that.
it was legit, and he was one of the ones who first was like, "All right, you go Shadowblade on Tiny like regularly. Sometimes you go Blink instead of Shadowblade, but he would just go like, Treads, Shadowblade, or Ring of Protection, Treads, Shadowblade, Ags, and then go from there. And it's really solid. I'm kind of not a huge believer in getting both Blink and Shadowblade.
Yeah, neither am
Um,
I. I would agree there.
I feel like you just spend a shit ton of gold on not getting a core item, which, as I don't know, I think there's a lot of issues with it. But at the same time, it lets you like go in, get a kill, and have another escape. So, I mean, I can see the merits of it, but it's not super for me. But yeah, and Tiny has a bunch of crazy builds right now. Like the first real big Tiny mid win was Weehaw going like arcane
That
boots,
yeah,
four staff, E blade. I'm like, what, you fucking asshole! Like, don't do that.
yeah,
That's just rude.
yeah. That was. I remember watching that game, and that was just like a weird thing to watch. Really, that's the
Yeah,
only way to describe it.
it was
Um,
an entirely different way to play the hero than we've seen like in any game, and now we have all this weird shit going on. So it's cool. I've been thinking maybe getting E-Blade instead of Ags because they kind of fulfill a similar purpose, and it makes your burst damage like your level 11 combo with Ags does like about 800 some damage. If you throw E-Blade into the mix instead of Ags, you do like I think it's like 1,214 or something like that. I was
wow.
calculating this out yesterday. And then also gives you a slow, and Agi is super good on Tiny with the attack speed and the armor. So it's something I want to try out, but I probably won't waste your time this game with me figuring out that that's an awful idea.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that like. I mean, we'll see, or I suppose we won't see, but I think that's one of those things that like theoretically, it's like, all right, this is really cool. It gives you all these nice things, but I think like thinking about the agi gain, that's gonna have like I'm not sure what the right term would be here, but you would gain more from the agi if you had an ags, of course. So when you think about having a bunch of agi without ags, then that's like you lose a lot from potential attack speed. Like
Yeah,
generally, like on tinies, like I'm sure this game you'll end up buying attack speed items, but you buy those attack speed items after you buy your agonyms.
yeah.
So it's kind of like having the both is good, but having one or the other is kind of like less than half efficiency.
Yeah, one of the things that makes the ag super crazy. I mean, there's a cleave, of course, which is like the obvious thing, but then the other factor is it gives you like 120 extra like attack range, and
Hmm.
that's something that's not really thought of that much. But like attack speed is only really useful if you're staying on the target and there's no big gaps between your swings. So like the longer your attack range is, the more useful attack speed can be. That's why like on a lot of melee heroes, unless you have bashers or something, it's kind of better to just have a lot of damage than a lot of attack speed because if people are just walking from you, you're not going to get that much done. Um, so yeah, the Ags, like on one hand, it doesn't increase your damage too much, and the cleave is nice for farming, but not too much for killing. But the extra attack range, like actually makes up for that like a huge amount. So it's something that I'm having a lot of issues thinking that I can avoid.
Yeah, it's I'm always a bit peeved when I'm playing a game and I have a tiny on my team and they don't buy ags. It's
Yeah,
just like I don't know. Like sometimes it works, obviously. Like that
yeah,
game, I don't think he bought ags the entire time.
no,
Um, and like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the question is, would you have won the game anyway, or would you have won the game faster if you had bought
yeah,
ags? Stuff
that's
like
always
that.
the question.
That's really the question. Or I suppose the better way to word would be: did you win the game in spite of your build or because of your build?
Sure,
Um,
sure.
well, yeah, and then of course our other hero, the one that I assume I will be playing, is going to be Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter, of course, last patch he was. I don't want to say he was in every game, but it certainly seemed like it. I myself was a bounty picker,
It
and
was either he was in every game or he was banned every game. One of the two.
yeah, he. I mean, he just offers a lot. Recently, the meta game in pubs and pros, mostly in pros, has been around like greedy mids, and then you commit like two or three people to mid, and you have people roaming and doing kind of that kind of stuff. So bounty hunter really fits this meta of a protecting mid lane because he can put a ton of aggression, ton of defensive potential. And then the other thing would be he lets you just fight constantly, and you're always going to get good trades because you trade 2 for 2, but you get an additional 500 gold from bounties.
Yeah.
That's unrealistic, more like 300. But it lends itself really well to this heavy fighting meta when you have heroes like Tusk and stuff that they're strong partly because the hero's strong, but also because just the meta fits them really well. So I'm really excited to see this. I think your point about Tiny definitely, like I mid Tiny quite a bit. It's pretty much the only way I play him anymore. And he's not exactly the strongest mid in a lot of matchups. He has certain matchups that he's heavily favored. I know I would pick Tiny like all the time to counter Storm mids. That would be like my go-to. Like they pick Storm, I'm just gonna pick Tiny, and I'm gonna kill him pre-6, almost guaranteed, and that's it. Nowadays, I mean, you don't really see Storm anymore, so do with that what you will. But he definitely loses some matchups. I mean, just by the nature of being a melee mid, I hear like Shadow Fiend is just going to raise him down. Stuff like that is going to be a problem. But Bounty Hunter will, let's see, it will assuage some of those fears where, you can pretty confidently mid up against a Shadow Fiend because he can't trade with you because not only will he be trading with you, but he'll be trading with the Bounty Hunter. And the slow from Janata is going to let you get more easily in range with your combo, of course. I think there's just a lot of stuff going for it.
Yeah, it's like if Bounty Hunter is stealthed, no lane really knows where he is unless they have a sentry ward they can, assess. Like, okay, he's definitely not on me at this exact moment, but that's like it's like 3 lanes you're putting pressure on at all times. And if you have like a kind of greedy laning scenario, it can offset that a lot by the fact that like the guys you're playing against can't over-aggress too far if a Bounty Hunter could like turn the fight. Otherwise they risk just getting blown out completely, and then you're losing to a greedy lineup, and that means you just lose straight out.
Yeah, I think you really put it well in that, like, Bounty Hunter is just one of these heroes that just is really annoying. Like, he's always pressuring you. You don't, like, obviously if he's like on the map and he's fighting, then you know where he is, but most of the time he's not doing that. Whether he's either invis or he's in the jungle, whatever. And he just puts a ton of pressure, and he's just hassling all your lanes at once. And it's a really interesting dynamic to have a hero that is so mobile and offers so much with so little. Because, I mean, all he needs is, like, boots and maybe an Orb of Venom, maybe a bottle. And he can do so much compared to other supports that are more locked to a lane, or they can rotate but they need more items, or, they can rotate but they take a ton of mana, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Bounty, I would say he's one of like the most balanced heroes right now. I think like
yeah, he seems fair. He has his own niche and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly, he has his own niche, and like rarely would you pick him and be like, wow, that's an awful pick. Actually, that's a lie. There are plenty of times.
Yeah, I'm like, man, we have like no supports and a jungler, and now we have a Bounty Hunter. Like, okay, good job, dude.
Yeah, I think just my biggest comment on him, I guess, would be that I think his biggest strength is that he can offer so much to all the lanes at once. Whereas a lot of other heroes, a lot of other supports or roamers, they're more telegraphed. If Spirit Breaker, you see him charge from one lane to another. If he's like a 4-slot Spirit Breaker.
Sure.
Whereas Bounty Hunter, you're just like, oh, he's missing. I have no clue where he is.
Yeah.
And you have to commit all this money. You got to think like, oh, let's buy a dozen sentry wards. Oh, my supports are poor. Then they're poor, and then you kill them more easily. It's awesome.
And his contribution can scale super well with like how proficient you are with the hero, like in a vacuum, because he's one of those heroes that like if you're good at you're good at Bounty Hunter, I guess like differently from how you're just good at Dota in general, kind of like skill with like a Lone Jurd or Invoker or Tinker, that kind of thing. But like you think about a hero like Crystal Maiden, who she helps all your lanes out with the Arcane Aura, but like wow, okay, you skilled Arcane Aura, you helped your lanes, fucking high level shit. It's crazy, but like with a Bounty Hunter, like if you get a gank in one lane, they're like, oh shit, there's a real ass Bounty Hunter here, and then every other lane has to play defensive, like for a really long time. And then if you're really careful about when you reveal where you are and that kind of thing, it's just like it's a really dynamic hero. It's got a lot of shit going on. It's definitely cool.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think. I agree completely. I think he's a really fun niche hero that like there's nobody like him. Other supports or other roamers, you think like again, using Spiritbreaker as an example, like what Spiritbreaker does, you can pretty roughly compare that to what a Night Stalker does, where like he's a very linear form of attack. Obviously, like Night Stalker is pretty original in that nighttime, but they still like accomplish basically the same thing. Whereas a bounty hunter, he does so much with so little, and he's really just like, I don't know, dynamic is definitely the term to use it. And he can have an off lane. Obviously, we're not gonna be doing this game, but I see a bit of off lane bounty hunter. Honestly, I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it's
think it's
dog shit.
viable.
Fucking
But
awful idiots doing the wrong thing at all times.
yeah, I mean, I think it's okay, but I don't think it's ever like. I think there are very few, if none, if no, situations where I would prefer to have an offlane bounty hunter than a like a roaming bounty hunter, and maybe in
Yeah.
an offlane duo. I know.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you have I don't know, I feel like an offlane duo bounty hunter is fairly equivalent to a roaming bounty hunter who identifies that the offlane is a good place to be roaming.
That's very true. That's very true. I know one of the combos a long time ago. I considered for the show, and I've run it before with other people. Is Dark Seer Bounty Hunter, just because of the nature. You know, it's not exactly rocket science. You ion shell the bounty hunter, and then he slows with Janata. You just
Yep.
chase someone down. It's really gimmicky
That's
and
a thing
dumb.
that exists.
It does not scale at all, and that's why
Yeah.
we haven't done it. But I think he has some weird synergy with heroes, and of course, track being the classic bounty hunter skill. We really haven't even touched on that. We've just been talking about the laning phase, but track is like, even though they nerfed it, of course. So last patch, one of the biggest strengths was that track would give you like, I forget exactly what it was. I think it was like 150 AOE vision around the hero you tracked, maybe 200, something like that. But now it just gives you hero. It just gives you hero. It just gives you vision of the hero you tracked, nothing around it, nothing else, and that's a really, even if it's less vision, it's still vision. So that's it's just an awesome informational tool. And then of course, getting extra money for stuff is quite
Gold's
nice.
good. I think having a gold advantage is probably like it's a pretty good thing to have.
It is. It is
So-
generally that.
So, what do you like item wise on Bounty Hunter at this point? Because I see a lot of like greaves and that sort of thing, but I'm not sure what is ideal.
I will add before I get off the topic that the gold you get from track is reliable gold,
Oh
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
a really, it's the kind of like minutia that you don't think of, but when it actually comes down to it, it's like that's really important stuff. Reliable versus unreliable gold is very important.
Well, and
Anyway,
especially if you think of like the context in which it comes when you're like killing someone as a bounty hunter, he can go back into stealth, but he's not, like he doesn't have a blink or a really
Yeah.
good escape. And so, if you're stealthing into like, the enemy's jungle, there's a pretty good, and like you kill someone real fast, there's a pretty good chance there are like TP reactions and people are going to try to turn around kill. And if you get this extra, bonus reliable gold and then you get turnaround kill, that really doesn't matter too much. You still come out ahead.
yeah. But so thinking about item builds on Bounty Hunter, I think one of his biggest strengths is that you can do a really different item build.
Yeah.
You can really build what the team needs. I know. I tend to. I mean, if we need a mech, I will do the Greaves build. I think the Greaves build is totally fine. Other times, I'll do like a phase, and then like of lads if we need of lads, or I'll just go mobility and go like force staff blink dagger, or vice versa. I really on Bounty Hunter, I don't have any static builds. I mean, realistically,
Get
you should
that,
not have static builds on any hero.
Yeah, Solar Crest
But-
too. I mean, he can
Solar
really build
Crest.
any of the big. You can go Solar Crest. You can go fucking Glimmer
Dagon.
Cape. Yeah, yeah. I loved when Dagon was like the build. That was so fun back in like TI4.
Yeah, it's weird because like it's still one of those builds where like I see somebody do it, I'm like, wow, that's so dumb. Why would he do that? But then it actually does some stuff. Like
Yeah.
Dagon has a bad rap as being like a kind of like jokey YOLO item, or like a niche item on like certain heroes like Tinker. But Dagon actually, like Dagon level 1 is a lot of value for one slot. Thinking about it, like what is it, like a 300 magic damage nuke before resistance? It might be.
Oh no, it's like way more than that. I think it's like 400 at level
It
1.
It might be 400. I'm thinking of it with resistance.
Yeah. Yeah. That would
But
be
anyway,
resistance.
it's just like a ton of value. It only becomes like a bad item, or not a bad item per se, but it's kind of like a money pit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not necessarily going to do that. I very rarely, if ever, do the Dagon Bounty Hunter build, but it definitely is something to keep in mind. I think he meshes really well with it because you just walk into the back line, you kill the support, who realistically, I mean, you have a
The
track
one who had
on
dust, probably.
yeah, of course. Yeah, you kill the one with dust. So I think that's a viable build. You see people go Deso on him. There's that
Some
Battle
old
Fury
school
build,
shit.
which is terrible. People, please don't do that. Um, I think so. Basically, what I'm saying is I have no clue, and that's my end
Okay.
result.
All right.
So, what's your tiny build going to be? I know I have a
Um.
general idea because I've played quite a few tiny games with you,
Yeah.
but
The Blink Shadow Blade is kind of what's meta right now, and thinking about this, kind of like one of the reasons when I played Tiny that the Shadow Blade was so attractive was, you know, with just Blink alone, you can't really go into someone else's woods and find a kill because you're gonna get
yeah,
seen the second you do that. So that's kind of the appeal of the Shadow Blade. But if I'm playing with this bounty hunter who's scouting people for me, there's absolutely no need for it at all. So I think when you're playing Tiny with a bounty hunter, you really actually just don't fucking need Shadow Blade at all.
yeah.
So I'm definitely gonna just go purely Blink, no Shadow Blade Blink, no Shadow Blade, no Blink, just straight up Blink. So it's gonna be I might do my Ringer Protection starting build bullshit, but it's gonna be some kind of starting items, Treads bottle, that kind of shit, um, and then maybe a wand. Who knows? Maybe a
One
wand.
good item.
Probably not. But it's just gonna be like Blink Ags, and then normally you just go like Blink Ags AC, and then there's a lot of extension off of that.
Mhm.
I normally like two attack speed items. You either go like Blink or Ags. Sorry, AC
Axe Ace.
Butterfly, AC Manta, Butterfly Manta, or AC Moonshard are the kind of combinations that I like.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think.
yeah, so probably one of those.
Yeah, rarely do we see like naked moon shards, or not naked moon shards, but like moon shards
Marvelous
that are,
Moonshard.
yeah, like a moon shard that's built not for the purpose of being consumed, I guess would be the way to word it.
Sure,
But
sure, sure.
Tiny
Yeah,
is one of those heroes that really pulls it off.
yeah,
Um, I like the Manta build a lot, and it's weird because a lot of heroes they get the Manta because it's like a combination of things, but the move speed matters very little on Tiny because
Oh, I
he,
disagree. He has such good base move speed. He goes to like 500 with him with a Yasha. It's
well,
crazy.
I know I agree, but it's just like I think I mean he's so hard to kite anyway. Like so, the problem we see with a lot of melee mids is that unless they have something like I don't know, let's just pick an example, like a Sven or something, or like Nakes or an Alchemist. Like
Snakes
all
is
you do
probably good.
is yeah, Nakes is probably the perfect example. Like they need to build move speed because they just naturally get kited. Whereas Tiny, you know, you already touched on it. The Ags gives him tons of reach,
Yeah, and he's
and
got
he
a range
naturally
stun and a
builds.
blink. Yeah.
Yeah. Even
Okay,
if he doesn't
that's
go,
valid.
so it's just like obviously there's always merits to like going super hard in on move speed and just being way faster than everybody. But he doesn't have those getting kited problems
Yeah,
that a
it's
lot
it's not
of
quite as
melee
necessary
heroes
that
do.
aspect of it. But yeah, he doesn't really like to build blink to or sorry BKB. And when you do, you go
Yeah, that
like
sucks.
Hyperstone BKB as is outlined in Slash's video, of course.
Of course, our Lord
Yeah,
and Savior.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so if there's a lot of magic damage, you can go Hyperstone BKB. But yeah, the dodge on Manta is nice, and Tiny is all base damage. Most heroes, once you progress into the game, you get like an Abyssal or something. It's a lot of items that add plus damage that don't get affected by or that don't transfer into your Manta illusions. But Tiny is this rare special gem where you press Manta and your 300 base damage goes into two illusions that do 100 damage each, and that's some
Yeah,
substantial shit.
yeah, definitely. I think like one of the biggest merits to Manta is just like you can just siege base by just throwing illusions, and that's not something we see as much anymore because of the nerf to illusion damage. But Manta illusions on Tiny do a ton of damage.
Yeah, they're fucking
Even
crazy.
yeah, it's wild stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. I think I'm not sure. I mean, all both our builds are going to be pretty game dependent. I do really like the Shadow Blade build on Tiny though, but of course, you know
Yeah.
the enemy team's already going to be carrying dust. You don't need. I mean, I already have you have me to scout for you, so you can blink
Yeah.
on people, and ideally we'll hit that window where like we can start ganking together. So like you'll hit your blink timing, and have track already, and then we can just rotate around and hopefully make a lot of money for us and our team. So we'll see how that goes.
I'll just say I'm hoping you get mana boots. That's just my personal prayer.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, even if I don't go Greaves necessarily, I can go mana boots
They're
just
so
fine.
nice. So
I
nice.
yeah, I always have mana problems on Bounty Hunter.
Yeah.
Um, I know I haven't tried Mango builds with him. I don't know why, but in my heart of hearts, I'm thinking Mango
Oh,
might be
do
the
you like
play.
the early Orb of Venom like with starting gold kind of thing? I know we don't like it with starting gold, but I've seen it on
I
Bounty Hunter.
I like it if I can afford it. Like most
Sure.
It really depends. Like, do I
Yeah,
have to
if
buy courier and wards? Do I have to
sure,
only buy
sure,
one?
sure. Yeah,
So
that
that,
makes sense.
yeah. And then I'm not sure. I mean, if most of the time in a pub game, realistically, I'm going to have to buy both because people don't support.
Yeah.
So I don't do it often, but if I can get away with it, I do.
Okay.
The other thing would be like if they have a hero that I know, like if I have an Overvenom, I can kill them over and over, like a CM
Yeah,
or
yeah.
some other slow hero. Whereas if they have like if they have hypermobile supports or really tanky supports, then realistically, Overvenom's not going to help me as much.
Yeah.
So that
Okay.
we'll see. I if I can get away with it, I may. We'll see. So as much as we're talking about how good this combo is, let's just quickly go over some weaknesses. So what are you really not? What do you really not want to look for? I know my
Fighting a
number
co-op
one.
mid. That's like that's
That would be
ideal
rough.
thing I don't want to do.
Yeah, Quap Quap would be a rough matchup because she would just nuke down waves. She would be really hard to kill.
Yeah, we can't really aggress on her. You like open on her with a Janata, and she's like, okay, I'll just leave
Yep,
then.
I'll
And then
just
you're like,
leave.
well, goodbye.
Yeah, she's pretty brutal. The other thing I was thinking of, hero specific wise, would be Abaddon or Abaddon, whatever. I don't care how it's supposed to be pronounced. Abaddon, I mean, I love Abaddon. He's also one of the heroes that's like least played by like a good margin. But he's incredibly good in this meta in general, I would argue, but also especially against Bounty Hunter or Slardar, because I think amplified damage has a similar mechanic to track, whereas like it stays on somebody, gives vision, so you
Yeah.
want to remove it because it makes it really hard to angle on somebody or be aggressive if they have all that information. Like, oh, obviously, like this guy is tracked and he's coming towards us. They're gonna try to fight us. Get
Yeah,
ready.
he can
So
dispel your ulti pretty easily, and you're trying to track the people you're about to kill, and he wants to shield the people you're about to kill. So it's not like he's
exactly,
burning his shield on negating your track. It's like a functional shield that also invalidates your whole hero's ultimate. It's like pretty rough.
exactly. Yeah, that's like by far one of the worst matchups that I really don't want to see. So anything else off the top of my head? I mean, dealing with a team of just really tanky heroes would be problematic, for sure. That comes to mind.
Yeah, just a shit mid matchup, and then people that I can't pick off. That's the sadness. But if we're not dealing with that, I think we're okay.
Yeah, I think like high mobility or high survivability are going to be problems for us because
As
I
long
mean,
as they don't have high mobility before before the 6 minute mark, I think it's totally cool.
okay, well,
Because you can't mobility your way out of a tiny combo, you know?
that's true.
I mean,
That's
unless
true.
you're TA like you did that one fucking in-house game where I comboed you, but you had refraction up, so you
Yeah,
blinked in the
yeah,
middle of my fucking toss. Like, that's a goddamn fair thing you can do.
yeah. Well,
I still remember that. It's fucking bullshit. Like, you can't blink while you're being tossed. That's not
uh,
okay.
yeah. TA is one of the few heroes that actually matches up pretty well against Tiny IO,
Oh,
and
yeah.
just Tiny alone, it's a pretty decent matchup. Although Tiny IO versus TA is, I wouldn't say it's TA advantage. That's for sure. I just like she will survive probably,
Yeah.
unlike other
Overall,
heroes.
matchup-wise, I think that's like... I mean, from the greater match perspective, I think it's,
Yeah, I mean, if you can
advantage is
2v1 and
when you
not
can
die.
gain.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, I mean, also I play a lot of TA, so I've played the matchup a number of times,
sure.
although not recently. Maybe in my comeback to Dota in the next couple. Well, once my finals are over, then I'll maybe get back to the swing of playing some TA, the one true waifu, as they say.
Yeah, that's definitely something that people say.
Oh, of course. I mean, everybody. Somebody on Twitter, who was it? Jagushi. They started a
Yeah.
waifu competition. So I mean, of course, everybody knows it's TA. Some people they say Wind Ranger, the Wind waifu, but I mean, those people, godless heathens.
It's all about Lone Druid's bear.
Yeah. I'm not going to get too far into the waifu talk. That's a dark hole we do not want .p to go down.
Yeah, agreed.
Right. So, any more closing notes before we get into the game? I'm thinking we covered the combo pretty well. I'm feeling pretty confident.
Yeah, I already lost a game on Tiny today, so I feel pretty warmed up.
Perfect.
I was safe lane though; it was really awful. Don't worry about it. We're fine.
You're
I won a
level
game
starved.
yesterday on Tiny, so it's all set.
Nice. And I've barely played Dota. So, and I mean, I think karmically we're deserving a win because last Theorycrafting
Yeah,
Thursday we did one of these combos. It was awful.
yeah, it was a total
Yeah.
fucking blowout. Let's play this one where it's not that.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's like it's the gambler's fallacy, and my favorite of all fallacies that I firmly believe in that, like, I deserve a win. So obviously, I'm gonna get
Yeah,
the
it's
win.
more likely to happen this time because we lost 3. That's totally
Exactly. It's not like each one is independent of each other, right?
No, God, no. What the fuck?
Exactly. I love math. All right, so I think that's going to close it out, and we are going to go right into the game, and then you, of course, will hear us out when we come back, and hopefully we talk about our glorious triumph over whatever the Radiant or the Dire team.
It's a sure thing.
Okay. When? Oh, okay. All right. Well, welcome to the second portion of Theorycrafting Thursday, and thanks for watching or listening rather, because that's how most people do things. And we just got out of our game. It was probably the best game we've played for Theorycrafting Thursday. It was
Best
almost
game
an
of my
hour long.
life.
Yeah, best game of my life. It was a good time.
That was the
We
best game where I've not been playing Lone Druid.
Yeah, it was. I was freaking awful. I was just the bottom of the barrel, but the game still went well, and I got a lot of tracks off. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. But so our game, of course, just to preface, just to remind everyone, we are both mid 4Ks in party queue. You're what, like, I forget what you said, four something, 4-4.
I'm 4-4 right now. Unfortunately, I was
Okay.
4-4. I was 4-6 last week, but
Yeah,
not this
no,
week.
but party queue wise, we're
Oh,
both
party! I'm
4-3.
like 4-2. Like,
Yeah,
I don't give a shit about my party.
yeah, but the idea is that we're both like run like 4,300 party, and we got
Sure.
matched with people that were widely above us in
Yeah.
their queue. So just we got actually matched with a pro player. I say pro player, not like a big pro player, but his name is Stan King, and he played for Root. I don't know if he still plays for Root or what, but he's 6,900 solo, and his party's 56. And then we had a bunch of other people that were, especially on the other team, that were like mid 6Ks. The mid
Kind
you
of
mitted
people.
against, yeah, the mid you
They're the
mitted
kind of
against was
people that hang out
6,400 solo.
in the same party with 6K players, so they're no pieces of shit themselves.
Yeah, yeah, they had a couple like mid 6Ks on their team, and it was like one of those games where like you're kind of thrown out of your league, and then you got to like sink or swim, and it definitely puts into perspective like Dota in general, right? It makes you think about like, you know, I don't know. Sometimes those games happen, and you feel like I don't know. You're like, man, I'm terrible at Dota. And then times like this happen, and like it feels really good. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, so I mean, overall, it was just an excellent game. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. That's like one of those games that makes you love Dota, right? So it took, yeah, it was a 57-minute game, and how'd our lane go? I think our lane went as well as it could go when the enemy mid is 2,000 MMR above you.
Yeah, so you did some initial harass that like actually totally saved my ass because like he was a lot better than me and Earthshaker. So it was Earthshaker mid against Tiny mid, and
Yep.
normally like Earthshaker mid that's kind of like a gimmicky thing, but like Earthshaker against melee mids is so fucking legit, especially a low armor melee mid because this like enchant totem takes out like a quarter of my health pool. It's fucking absurd. So like you come in initially with your orb of venom shit and you like harass the fuck out of him. I'm like, I could walk over and help, or I could get these CS so I make sure I get my bottle. And I did that instead, and that was the correct thing to do, thankfully. So like you fucked him over pretty decently, and then I got my bottle really early, and that was good, and that mitigated. Like he was way better than me because he was 6K, and he had like kind of like a counter comp matchup. So like the fact
Yeah.
that you were there to kind of win me the opening creep wave helped so much. Like that was the lane. Like I would have been shit on, and we would have lost all three of our lanes if that wasn't the case. So I think our lane, like even just within the help from the first 2 minutes, it won. Like, game would have been lost without that. Like, that was it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it went well overall, honestly. I mean, we had some hiccups, and their clockwork was like ridiculously problematic for our team. Their clockwork killed
Yeah.
our boy Stan King, and understandably, like clockwork is really strong against Ember Spirit, especially in that pre-6 phase, and they had a ton of CC. So
Yeah.
just to refresh the comps, we had, of course, us two. Then we had Ember Spirit farming the lane. We had an offlane Slardar, and then we had a support Ancient Apparition. And the enemy team was an Earthshaker mid, Rubik support, Morphling carry. He did a shotgun build, not a fighting build. And then a Witch Doctor support and a
No,
Clockwork support.
he did a fighting build. He went fucking.
He did Manta
Lincoln's.
first.
No, he did Lincoln Sphere and then Manta and then Shotgun.
Yeah.
So that's like that's pretty far before he went Shotgun.
Yeah, but anyway, end game, he was shotgunning people to death. So
Yeah,
it was rough. He definitely was one shotting me all over the place. I mean, I had like what 1100 health, and I was just food.
yeah,
So yeah, and then they like aggro duoed with Clockwork Witch Doctor, and boy, that was strong. I know I like tried to help bottom lane because they were dying and having a bad time, and it just was to no avail. I just died
yeah,
also. It was brutal. There's just so many stuns in that lane. You can do nothing. They were carrying dust all the time, because obviously they're very good players. And I had 14 deaths that game, but I'm a bounty hunter, so I put out my tracks, and that's all you got to do. But
yeah. The thing with like fighting an aggro dual lane as a tri lane is like, if you do it, you need to like shock and awe them that they like run away from you, and like it's like we have three heroes, you have two, we better fucking kill you, and you have to run away. But the team like Clockwork Witch Doctor, like they're gonna cask and it's gonna bounce amongst your three heroes, and they're gonna cogged out and isolated, and like there's just no winning that. Like that's a lost safe lane, no matter how you cut it.
yeah, and they were like just the nature of the two heroes. They're super tanky, and AA made some. I mean, obviously AA is like the perfect pick against this team, right? They have a witch doctor and they have a morphling, and AA just was stellar once he had ult, but pre-ult he has a lot of trouble in lane phase when you have a clockwork and a witch doctor, and you're trying to kill them. They
Yeah,
both have wands. They have witch doctor heal. They're mobile. They're stunning you over and over. So that
and
was not.
you have Icy Touch though, which is like the best try you try, or one of the best try you try spells in the game.
Yeah,
But that's assuming that you're getting auto attacks off, and if your tri lane is two melee and an AA, you're not gonna get any auto attacks off. You're just gonna
yeah,
fucking die.
yeah, and you have a
So
battery
it's
assault
just
maxing
yeah,
clockwork. Like
it's
you
just
can't
that
even
was a
finish
shit
them.
lane, man. That was no good. They laned that correctly. They're the enemy team did, anyways.
Yeah.
Not a lot to do about that. Sometimes you just lose a lane.
Yeah, basically, like, we had to salvage a lane, or we had to sacrifice a lane. Slaughter's off lane went relatively well. The Morphling got decent farm, which is to be expected, but Slaughter got his XP, and he bullied the Rubik a bit because he's not going to get killed by Slaughter necessarily if he plays it right, but he's not going to be able to harass Slaughter out of lane. So Slaughter had some problems there, but overall he got his levels. He went Tranquil's Force Staff because he realized like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to hold on to money because we were down like it was like 11-1 at one point.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
The early game was really bad, mostly just because of that Clockwork Witch Doctor lane. And so yeah, the Slaughter did a really cost efficient build, and he went Force Staff. He ended up with Blink, or his skill build or item build rather was Force Staff, Blink Dagger, Blade Mail, BKB. And
Yeah.
this was definitely a BKB game. I mean, we were talking about it earlier. Like you really didn't want to go BKB because BKB sucks to buy in general, but especially on Tiny. But I mean, you ended up having to
Oh yeah.
almost immediately. Like it was right immediately after Ags, you went BKB.
Yeah, normally it's like, all right, you need attack speed so fucking bad once you're 16 that you need to go like Hyperstone BKB. But the game was just like, we were down and we weren't going to win a team fight unless I had a BKB popped and I could like wade into the center of it while Ember was like sliding and making space. So I was like, all right, we're just gonna go fucking Ags BKB, and we did, and I think it was the correct decision. Obviously, if a big team fight didn't happen between 2K Gold and my BKB, it would have been wrong. But I think it was right overall. I mean, we won, so I can't complain too much. But
Yeah,
I
it
think
was
I think
close
that was
though.
correct. Yeah,
Like we won, but I mean, I always say like any game that lasts around an hour is a great game, no matter what. Like unless it's like a Techies game,
yeah,
or like
fair.
if a Tinker game, I suppose. Although I like Tinker, so I'm a little biased in that regard. But this game was definitely like a stellar game. The Dire team, they almost racked us twice. They took our ranged racks. They took both our tier threes before we even had all their tier twos. They were like pushing a hardcore. They had a clear goal. They had a clear plan in mind. But I mean, we said it all the time through the VOD that like the farther
Just
this
gotta
game
make it.
went, yeah, we just
Just
got to
gotta
make
make
the end
it.
game or
Just
end
gotta
game. We got to make the
hold.
late game,
We'll make
and
it.
eventually we did. And
Yep.
I mean, the Ember Spirit had a really bad time in lane, but once he had he did the Tranquils farming build. So once he had like Aquila
Or
bottle,
the travels.
travels, yeah, he did
Yeah.
not go Tranquils, that's for sure.
Thank
Once he
God.
had Aquila bottle travels, he was just walking all around the map farming. He got picked off a couple times, but he made his mark and he got the money where it was where he could, and he ended up with regular Ember Spirit items. He got the blink, which I love. A lot of people don't buy the blink. In my experience, I don't know if you see a ton of Blink Dagger Ember Spirit in like 4K and or lower, but I love the build. I need to play around with it, but I don't play that much Ember Spirit. It's really interesting. I love watching it. It's a really
Yeah.
like
No,
it takes it
I'm a
takes
big fan.
it takes all of Ember Spirit's strengths of mobility and then just like makes it even better, right?
Yeah,
So
the fact that you don't need to like burn, because if you want a remnant into something, that means you don't have a remnant out unless you already placed it. But
exactly.
like that way, you can like blink into something and have like a really, really, really strong escape. With your remnant, it's yeah, blink Ember Spirit's good shit.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, the whole game was really stellar. Honestly, like it was one of the most fun
Yeah,
games I've played recently. Even though like I I did not do well. It's important to notice your own mistakes, right? Like you can't just think like, oh, like I was playing with a bunch of 6Ks, so they wrecked me, of course. But like I had clear problems that game with positioning, and like you got to realize that stuff. And it's a really good way to improve, right? Just to pay attention to people better than you, or to play in games with people better than you, and just make dumb mistakes, and it really brings your weaknesses to light. And so I had a few plays, especially on a bounty hunter, where like I was trying to be aggressive, of course, because you're a bounty
yeah.
hunter. But then that aggression, there's a fine line between being aggressive and getting tracks out, or getting vision and being overly aggressive. And
And then
especially like,
feeding and giving Rubik track.
yeah, I tried so hard not to give Rubik track, but he got it
Yeah,
like
the
two or three times.
the one time he did steal it, I was like looking at you. I'm like, getting
Yeah,
on stealth isn't on cooldown. Otherwise, he would be in stealth. You can't throw
yeah,
a dagger, shuriken at nothing. Like this is just a bad situation. But I
yeah,
mean, the times it got stolen was like pretty. Like we lost a fight, and Rubik was okay to like walk at us and then steal track. So I mean, it's understandable. Like he's gonna get, and that's his ulti. He's gonna use it.
yeah. I was trying to be as cognizant of it as possible, but I mean, their team just had so much stun. Literally, everybody on their team has at least one stun. So like, I would track somebody, and then I get blinked on by Earthshaker and killed, and during that death,
Yeah,
they would just steal my track. So I mean,
God, that
obviously, that
shaker's
stuff's
the
gonna
worst.
happen. Yeah, that Earthshaker was wild. I was surprised he didn't do a crit shaker build. This is we've kind of like tangentially built off of the of just talking about our lane, but the Earthshaker build generally when you see, or at least when I see mid Earthshakers that do that totem max, they do the crit shaker. Obviously, they go like treads, bottle, blink, and then after that they'll do like shadow blade or they'll do a crit build. But this guy, he went. What did he do? After that, he went force staff, which is pretty standard. Then he went Shiva's BKB.
Yeah,
Then he ended the
I
game and
think he was going
and
for a sheep stick
yeah,
at the
and
end
he had
there, which I
travels.
which I think is the correct thing to do to
Yeah, he
next for
got to
sheep
sheep
stick.
the Ember Spirit.
Or yeah, and our BKBs or my BKB was wearing down. So I'm looking at the score screen and I'm like, oh man, when did Sam farm a BKB too? That's crazy.
Yeah.
But no, that's my BKB.
Yeah, I had to carry your BKB when you had Aegis, which yeah,
Which
I
was
mean we took a
great.
good Roche. So they took, I believe they took the first Roche, and then we got the second and third
Yep.
because it was just some fortuitously timed team fights that we won, and then you could just transition it right into a Roche.
Yep.
So I mean, we just took Roche, and then you push uphill, you take all their Raxes, you have a tiny, so you just punch their base like 3 times, and suddenly you have Mega Creeps. So it was stellar. It was really,
Yeah, the
it
second
was
we
fun.
had an opening, we just fucking went through the jugular. It's really good.
Yeah. And
One
like,
possible kill that could have been tracked, but it was like at minute 2 or something.
exactly, yeah. And I got track at like, what was it, like 15 minutes or
Uh
something?
huh.
Like it was just
Yeah.
not my game. And so once I had it, like I could recoup some of those losses. But I ended up going four staff because like you pointed out in the game, they have a clockwork, so it was super helpful against clockwork cogs. When we were sieging high ground, you would be punching the tier 3, and then if they comboed you, I would just four staff you out of that. That happened a couple
Yeah,
times.
that was good.
So that helped a lot. And yeah, I mean, really, all I got was Greaves, Force Staff, and then
And BKB.
I did get, well, yeah, and BKB. I did get that Orb of Venom to begin the game. I bought almost all the wards. I elected to let the AA had a Midas, and I was just like, all right, I'm not worried about him buying wards. I'm just gonna buy all the wards, because his ag's gonna do way more for the team than me having any other item.
Sure.
I was working on a Vlad's at the time that we won, just
Yeah,
because
that would
we
have been
had,
smart.
well, the idea, my basic idea was just like, buff the carry. It was either go
Yeah.
like Solar Crest so that you could siege uphill and I could Solar Crest you, or the other plan would have been to obviously just buy Vlad's and help out. Because I
Yeah.
mean, we did have Tiny, Ember Spirit, and Slardar.
Yeah,
So
if you've ever played, I played Ember Spirit when he first came out, and I was really into Deso Ember Spirit, and then like I bought a Vlad's for fun once, just like the game was ending, and I was at like no health. I pressed W on like three heroes and like five creeps, and I come out of my W with full health, and I'm like,
yeah,
holy shit, what a lifesteal! So yeah, Vlad's a super cool with Ember, and then with Tiny, like I feel like every carry, I always think like, okay, where does my infinite HP regen, like my meaningful HP regen, come from? And with Tiny, it's like you have bottle, but then later you don't. So it's like like I killed Roche and I had 800 health, and I have to leave. I can't do anything. But if you have Vlad's and you're going around, you give Tiny a Vlad's, like he's actually able to get his health back. So it's
hmm
definitely cool.
yeah. I'm always interested in. Some people go satanic on Tiny. I'm not
Yeah,
against the build. Some people go heart, but heart's
I've
not
done it
really a
once or
popular
twice.
item
Yeah,
on Tiny. I mean, he naturally gets so tanky just from stats and from
sure.
AC and all that. And
And his damage can scale so well. Like I'd
yeah,
rather just kill someone before a heart comes into play.
there's definitely a point. There's definitely certain heroes that are really starved for slots. Like it's either heroes like I don't know what comes to mind, like some invoker builds where you just build a ton of cheap items. Like there are builds where you go like Yule's force, or you go like Force Staff, Yule's Blink, and like you end up being starved for slots because especially like if you have to carry dust in a game, but you're
Yeah.
starved for slots. So you had that problem. I mean, largely because you just had too much money. But Tiny is one of those heroes that like if you could pay for a seventh slot, he'd be on top of the list of heroes that want to pay for a seventh slot.
Tiny Alchemist, best strat. Give him
Yeah.
an Ags. Oh god, he scales so well if he doesn't have to waste a slot on Ags anyway. That's special tactics for later.
Yeah. Um, I actually I like this is really off topic, but I like support Tiny a lot. Like a roaming support
Yeah.
Tiny. So like it has its weaknesses, but I think we saw it was in the Frankfurt Major. Or it might
Yeah.
have been in DreamHack. They were doing the thing where you pull mid by
Yeah,
throwing
yeah, yeah.
creeps from the
Pilot
large
Ag,
camp with
yeah,
Tiny.
on
Yeah.
in Frankfurt Major, yeah.
It has
I've
a lot of
um
potential.
I've played. There's one guy. He's been in like three of my games, and he only plays roaming Tiny support. And he like I would just like be Alchemid or something like an asshole, and he would just like walk up to my lane and then just like toss them into my tower, and I'm like, holy shit, thanks, dude. And he's like, yeah, no problem, man. And then we just won. Like the first game I played with them, I was just like, okay, we have a Tiny support, great. We fucking lost, great job, team. And then he's just like, just shut up, you idiot. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, "Here, I'll feed you like 5 kills." I'm like, "All right." And he ends the game with like an Ags, Blink, fucking E-Blade and shit. I'm like, "Okay, you're like, keep doing you. Don't listen to me
Yeah.
ever again." Yeah,
Yep.
roaming Tiny support's cool. Roaming Quap, holy shit! I'm not even gonna talk about that, but roaming Quap has been good forever. Just saying.
Huh. I never thought about that. I know like Quap's one of those super
Kuroki's
versatile hero.
playing it right now.
Oh.
A decent amount on Liquid, but it's like something that I fought in like two pubs once, and I was like, actually, how the fuck do I deal with this? Like, it's like she like blinks into lane with like a dagger and like 600 range, 60 damage
Yeah.
auto attacks. I'm like, okay, like that's
Hypermobile, hard to punish,
yeah,
natural
Ruben
bottle
Klopp,
carrier.
what a hero. Anyway, yeah, about the
Huh.
actual game.
I'll have to try that. Yeah, I mean, I could go off talk about my boy roaming support Kunkka, the best build of any build. We're gonna have to run that. I'm committing in the
Okay,
next couple weeks, possibly next week.
all
We'll
right.
be playing a support Kunkka
I'll let
game.
you think about that one.
God bless. That hero is so fun. But yeah, I mean, any closing notes on the episode on the episode on the game? Like,
Um,
I mean, thoroughly. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I mean, it's nice playing with people that are way better than us, and especially when you win, and especially when you win 31 points. It's rare, like you see anything outside of that, like 20s.
yeah,
So like,
it'd be a win. Yeah. Well, there's
also,
one time in that game where like we were fighting that Earthshaker, and like I realized that I hadn't taken a lot of damage for all, so I had to blink up, and then he's like going to Fisher us so he can walk away, and like I blink in the middle of his animation over the Fisher, over
oh
his thing that he's casting, and fucking toss him, and this is the best. Fucking killed him, and it was
yeah,
great. So that's my closing note.
yeah. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I was also like, this is like an addendum, but I was very pleasantly surprised that when I did stupid things, like our team was so nice. They were just like,
Oh
oh, that was
yeah,
like not the best.
and like
Um,
we started the game off. It was like, "Hey, my boy's gonna roam bounty hunter with
yeah.
me. Let me mid." And like 6.4K Stan King's like,
Okay.
And then his friend is like, "Is he pro?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, he's pro." They're like, "Okay."
Yeah.
I'm like,
Um,
I'm against a fucking 6K. Please help."
yeah, it was interesting. It was I don't know. I again like I just can't say enough about like playing with people, playing with or against people that are better than you is like a really interesting experience. And I know like when you insulate yourself in like a bracket, like if you only play solo queue in, let's just say 3K, you play 3.3K solo queue and that's it. You don't ever play with people above or below you, and that's just it. Like it's very insular, and you only get used to how people play in that bracket, and then you're gonna have a lot of trouble growing or getting worse. Even I think you become really stuck in it. So it's really fun to like play with whether it's party queue or if you're in the 4Ks. Sometimes you will just get matched up with 5Ks. Um, Stuff like that. I don't know if that happens in the lower brackets. Like if you're in mid 2K, you get sometimes just thrown in with 3Ks. But it's a really fun experience, and like if you know people
Sometimes.
that are like better than you, like don't be like unless they're jerks. But like
Yeah.
it's always a good learning experience for them to be like, hey, you're out of position. Like I made a really dumb rotation at bottom, and and our boy Stan King was like, hey, they can see you. This is bad. And I was like, yes, Stan King, you're right. I agree. And it was just like, hey,
He's the
that
king
was
for a
dumb.
reason. All right.
Yeah. So I mean that's really what I took away from it. And a lot of times like I play with people like most of my real life friends and a lot of my Dota friends, they're like at least a little bit lower MMR. So like it's a really cool experience playing with people like way better numerically at least and quantifiably. I mean, there's absolutely no way I was one of the better players in that match, but all over super
Yeah.
fun. Like uh, I feel like I'm gonna go on like one of these Roland gushing sprees that he does in his interviews, but instead I'm not even talking about a person. I'm just talking about a game that we spent 57 minutes in.
Yeah, I would date that game.
Yeah, I mean, I would not. I would fight you for it.
Okay.
It'd be weird because we got a lot
Yeah.
of. We'd have to like buy plane tickets, and it'd be a whole process. But
Yeah.
we'll arrange it. We'll figure it out.
There's some kind of joke regarding Lewis and Loda here, but I'll
Yeah,
abstain from that.
yeah. I think that's probably for the best. But yeah, so I mean, we'll just close it out. We'll make our plugs. I, of course, am Ursinity. You can find me on Twitter, my preferred method of communication that I spend entirely too much time on. At Ursinity, of course, URSINITY. Proud, you are at Proud Dota.
That's
Double
correct.
D. Yep. And you could find this show, of course, at .p_show. Most of the other hosts are at .p_ and then their name. You can, of course, go to our subreddit at Defense of the Patients, r/Defense of the Patients. You can find our podcast and all kinds of stuff, iTunes, and then our website, of course, defenseofthepatients.com. You can use our Amazon link for all your shopping when you're going to buy your significant others, your family presents. I know I did because, it is what it is. And yeah, I think you can email us, of course, defenseofthepatients@gmail.com. Of course, you can watch the VOD from tonight's game. I highly advise it. It was a lot of fun. At .ptv1, there's no at, is our YouTube channel. So all together, I mean, if you want .p, you have many, many avenues to pursue it.
Yeah, I'm so surprised you can remember all that stuff.
Oh, I'm sure I forget like a different plug every week, but I'm
Yeah.
just gonna roll with it. No big
Oh
problem.
yeah, this is probably the worst time to say. There's some like Fallout show that we're doing that they wanted me to remind you about to plug,
Oh, okay.
and
We're
I'm
doing a
doing it
Fallout
right
show.
now. Yeah. Okay. So
Oh,
it's good that
also,
I managed to remember that one.
I'm glad you mentioned this. All right, this is important. I have been commanded to alert people of this. We are having an in-house. We're gonna have regular in-houses again. We used to have in-houses all the
Oh
time,
yeah, nice.
and then Valve said, "Hey, we hate guilds. We hate fun. No more guilds. No more in-houses." So we've not had those for a while, but now we are reinstating in-houses, and now it's gonna be formalized. We're gonna be running them this week at least. It's gonna be Thursday night, 9 p.m. EST, 6 p.m. Pacific, whatever. And those will go on however long as people want to make them go on. And I know we'll probably have people casting, people playing. It's gonna be a good time. I know I'll be there. That's for sure. And I'm very, very much looking forward to it. And we'll probably stream the games too if you're more stream inclined. You want to watch them. You want to be at work, whatever. So definitely tune in for that, and that's gonna be a good time. I'm excited that we're doing that again because those are always a really good way to get to know each other, your fellow .p members, and possibly flame each other mercilessly. Who knows?
Yeah,
But
in-houses are dope. 100% do recommend. That's like the only reason I know about this stuff because I just saw Sam playing. I was like, I want to play games. I want to draft, and then tell
yep,
people my draft was good. So that's the thing. Do the in-houses. They're fucking awesome.
yeah, that was perfect. I mean, that's how Proud got into Dot P, and I would bring him in. And I'd be like, all right, if I wasn't captain, I'd tell my captain because we'd always be on opposite sides, just because,
Yeah.
yeah. And I would
You'd be
always
like,
just be like,
watch
all right,
out, this guy beat
ban
someone
lone
who is
druid.
6.4k mid.
Yeah.
Super good. Carried Stan King.
Well, I mean, we kind of duo midded, and if we add our
Yeah, that's true.
MMRs, like, I mean,
Yeah,
I spent
yeah.
half my time there, so we'll add up to like 6.4.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, before we get on any more tangents, let's just close it out. All right. So thanks for listening or watching, and of course, I've been Ursinity. This has been my co-host Proud, and we are very happy to have you here. This has been Theory Crafting Thursday, and just remember, it's our theory, and it's probably your fault. All right. There's so many tangents to go on. I was just like, you gotta random